Let's be honest guys, the main thing that we worry about when picking a class is, will the class suck? As much as I want to tell people just play the class you like the most and have the most fun playing, in reality, not getting invited into groups isn't very fun at all. I mean, rogues right now are having to send their employment history, references and qualifications just to get inside a Scala Monastery run. And not all of us want to play a tank or a healer, so when it comes to picking a safe class to play, we really need to consider what DPS classes are going to be viable enough to get invited into groups, and preferably have the ability to rip a new asshole in our guildmates. So here are 3 classes that are most likely going to be a top tier DPS for the whole of Phase 2 in a Season of Discovery. For those of you out there looking to re-roll or making an ult, this video has you covered. Firstly, we'll begin with the Hunter. I think it's painfully obvious now that every single Season of Discovery dev plays a Hunter, because they are totally mental, and no matter how much they get nerfed, they always seem to make you seriously question what is the point of playing this game. It seems Phase 2 is finally the time for Melee Hunter to have his day, because of a new melee specialist rune in synergy with the dual wield specialization rune. This combo is making spamming Raptor Strike a force to be reckoned with. Not only does your Raptor Strike now deal damage with both weapons, but it has a 30% chance to not incur a cooldown, so sometimes you can use it twice in a row. I've seen Twitch clips of people dueling warriors and killing them in under 3 seconds. To be honest, I am thinking of making a Hunter my next ult. Yes, the Hunter will probably get nerfed soon, it's probably happening as I'm making this video, but they would have to be nerfed into the ground for them to become a DPS that doesn't get invited to groups. And personally, I don't see that happening. Hunters are always going to be a solid DPS pick, plus they are formidable in PvP. Pretty sure in the whole of Phase 2, Warsong Gulch pre-mades were exclusively just priests and hunters. Now guys, if you're really lagging behind on levels or the prospect of leveling a new alt seems very daunting, well luckily the world record holding speed levelers in World of Warcraft have made a leveling guide. Rested XP is an absolute godsend, telling you the precise route to take with loads and tips and tricks along the way on what runes to get and where to get them. This is going to be really useful now as Phase goes on, less and less people are doing dungeon AoE experience runs, so solo questing probably will be your best bet most of the time. By the way guys, I have been working on a week or an add-on guide for Season of Discovery to get the best passes that you possibly can, and it is totally updated for Season of Discovery. All subscribers can get instant access to that right now if you just go to my channel trailer. Now secondly, we have the class that I play, the Warlock. Looking at logs this week, it appears that the Warlock is the strongest DPS in the game right now, but also rather underplayed compared to Hunters and Warriors, so it's even easier to find a group. But by the way, I should clarify, just because certain DPS are very strong in week 1 of Nomagon does not mean they're going to be very strong in a month's time. We really cannot predict the future on that one, and only take obviously educated guesses. Although the new Warlock runes are admittedly a bit boring, they are nothing but solid DPS increases. Warlocks now have access to the fabled Ruin talent in the Destruction tree. This increases the damage of your crits by 100% on all destruction abilities. And with the new Shadow and Flame rune, your crits buff your Shadow and Fire damage by a generous 10%. This means with all of your runes and talents combined, we can get an increase to our fire damage by 81% with the optimal talent build and with the Shadow and Flame buff active. And the more crit we acquire means the higher uptime we shall have on the Shadow and Flame buff, which means the Warlock should scale well into Phase 2. To be honest, any class that focuses on crit does tend to scale well. They are also total gods in PvP, unkillable in Metamorphosis form while using the Master Channeler rune, which by the way scales the spell power by 50%, and at max rank with Nomagon gear will start to heal for 2000 health in 15 seconds. Because you can seriously get it to rack up to 120 health per second. Oh, and did I mention souling? I've already done the PvP event in STV on my Warlock, and even at level 35, level 40s were struggling to kill me. And lastly, we have the Warrior. Now the Warrior is always a safe pick because it's just a simple mathematical fact that they get better with better gear. The more attack power and crit a Warrior has, the more damage he deals, and therefore the more rage he generates, and therefore is able to use more abilities without running out of rage. It's just very simple maths, which is why I always think the warrior is a safe pick, especially as even week 1 they are on top of the pack in Omegon, so things are probably only looking up for the warrior from here. In this phase they receive runes from follow-up expansions that buff Slam, now making it an actual viable button to press, and now Berserker Rage available with the rune Flagellation, it becomes a good DPS cooldown rather than it just being a rage generation ability for when you take damage. And I've not even mentioned Death Wish. Warriors now just have so many ways to stack up flat percentile damage buffs, which means they're just going to become even more deadly as the phase progresses. And now that they both have Intercept and Warbringer for PvP, it means that playing PvP as a warrior isn't quite as painful as it was in phase 1. They can actually catch up to people and won't be kited for 2 days straight. Now the last honourable mention has to be the mage. They are actually looking quite viable in a raiding environment, and even if they turn out to be, you know, much worse further down the line, you'll have a class that can make a biblical amount of gold. And now that GDKPs are banned, which I totally didn't have anything to do with by the way, yeah, you will have to farm gold now. And no class competes with the mage when it comes to gold farming. Anyway, my name is Metagoblin, and until my next video, ciao.